when you share your story, I said it to you earlier, you're naked. Like there's no mask, there's no robe, there's no underwear, there's no nothing.
That's
If you
what
got
we call
a
bucket naked.
bucket naked, like if you got a mole right here that looks like a nipple, everybody's gonna see it because you're just naked. And so that's how you have to live. Like you have to think about it, guys. This journey called life, it's a one-way trip. Like there is no way to go back. There is no reset.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Caps and Conversations with Carson.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Bob.
And I'm Lamont. We're back here for another exciting day of just talking, just being vulnerable. So
Yeah,
I hope
guys.
y'all having a good day this morning, and I want to make sure that we can hear each other all well. Everybody, give me an all good, and if we're ready to go, Carson, I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump right into it.
Awesome. All good. So, guys, so we are, like Lamont said, we're going to be discussing vulnerability in the entrepreneurial space and the business space, and what that means to each of us. I know a lot of people, it's a touchy subject, vulnerability, and a lot of people are scared, are ashamed, or people might think of them sharing their true feelings, their true thoughts, true emotions, and a lot of times they won't do it. And I think it hinders them, it prohibits them, it limits them in what their potential can be in the business space. And so we really want to share our journey of vulnerability, and we are bringing on an amazing guest, Mr. Jay Jackson, today to discuss vulnerability. He has a great take on it, great perspective, and we're really just looking forward to this, and I hope you guys are as well. There might be some tears. I'm just giving you a fair warning. It's not something light. It can be passionate. It can be hard, and we just want to give you that heads up. But yeah, guys, we're looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are as well.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, the challenges and misconceptions that are within vulnerabilities within the business framework it's tough, because one puts their entire heart, their entire soul. They want to see a certain sense and feel that sense of success when launching their own brand, when launching their own business. To have that vulnerability there, it could be anything. It could be several things. And a lot of people will look at it like as a sign of weakness when you put it out there. But in all transparency, it's more than just that. It's really a sense of empowerment. Because when you're able to break down those barriers, those walls, you'll push through and see the real light at the end of the journey of it all. So that's only going to, attribute to the success of you and of your business, which is why I wanted to highlight and bring, Jay on board, because he's been in the space for quite some time. I'm sure that he's had his ups and downs, but one of his recent posts, which was really like, it touched me because like he has this great relationship with his father, and they went out fishing, just the other day. And it's like, I don't have a dad like that in my life, and I haven't had a dad like that in my life, but it's really cool to see that other people that are in this space in the entrepreneurial world that still have that connection with their family, especially their parents. So Lamont, did you want to add anything to that?
I just wanted to add that, being, vulnerable in any kind of business is essential to, bringing out your authenticity to the point where, we all play or serve a role in any kind of business, but it's up to you to be, kind of open or more transparent than ever these days than opposed to, years ago. There's a lot of people in the online space. There's a lot of people that own their own business. But if you can't be you, I think we touched on this like some on past episodes, that you want to, allow people to get to know you, get to know more about your business. But that comes with being vulnerable. If you don't have that aspect in your business, everybody's going to think that, well, he's just following a script, which is, sometimes it's hard to get along with, but people don't really buy into businesses anymore. People buy into people. People buy into who you are. And the the only way you can show people who you are is you have to show some sense of vulnerability, if that makes sense. So, you know, we're going to talk a lot about this later on when we get our guest in. And Carson, if you would, just let me know when you want me to bring him in, and then I'll make sure that we get him out that back room and show him what we all about.
I just want to add one more thing before we do that. And it kind of segues into our conversation. Guys, we all have our own story to tell. And so many times people want to hide their story. But I mean, you don't realize that even just a little part of your story can impact and change somebody's life. So my question to people is, if you can't tell your story, why do you want how can you get someone else to tell you their story? Because that's what it comes down to. If you can't feel comfortable telling the good, the bad, the ugly of your story, how in the hell do you expect someone, a complete stranger, to tell you the worst parts and the best parts of their life? So with that being said, guys, we want to bring on our guest, Jay Jackson, and really allow him to tell his story, his journey.
So without further ado, let me get him out this back room. Hate for him to be alone. He can just,
I know he's been clawing at the door to get in. Let him in, Lamont. Let him in.
I'm trying to let him in, but you know, he got to be willing. There he is.
There's Jay. What's going on, Jay?
Welcome you to Caps and Convos episode 6. It's a pleasure to have you, first and foremost. I know it's a little bit early on your side of town over there. I'm in Germany, of course, so it's pretty much evening over here. So how are you enjoying your morning so far? And tell us a little bit more about you.
Hey, man, first and foremost, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on the show. I'm looking forward to our conversation, being vulnerable, being transparent, or getting naked, as I like to call it. But my morning is going pretty good, man. So the wife and I, we came out to the office this morning because I had to record a couple of videos for a new mini training that we're getting ready to launch. And so we're up and at 'em out here doing this entrepreneurial business owner thing like we do. But I'm excited to be a part of it. And I hope that in sharing a little bit of my story, it will give someone else some courage, empower them, inspire them, or even motivate them to be more vulnerable, be more transparent, but most importantly, make an impact and go out and change other people's lives.
That's great. That's great, man. It's a pleasure to have you as well. Before we, dive into the topic, I want you to pretty much just accentuate what you actually do and, how far have you come along in your journey? Because we want to get to the nitty gritty, but we want to know more about you first so we can start to resonate where you at in your entrepreneurial journey right now.
Yeah, well, I won't go all the way back as if we're on a dating app or something like that. I'm a country boy, man. I'm originally from Navy brat. And I'm also an Air Force veteran myself. And so when I was age 9, my mom moved us away from Birmingham, Alabama, moved us up to Detroit, Michigan to be closer to my grandfather and his side of the family. And that's where she met my stepfather, who, like I said, was in the Navy. He retired from the Navy after 22 years, but he brought the Navy home with him. And so everything from discipline, structure, routine, he made us do those types of things in our lives as kids. I had no idea how impactful that would be on who I would become as a person as I got older. But at the time, I was like, hey, man, no one cares about hospital corners on your bed or folding the T-shirts a specific way. I'm a kid. I just want to go out here and chase girls and play basketball. That's all I wanted to do. And, I was pretty good at basketball, had the opportunity to go to college, but I got very distracted by alcohol, smoking weed, and women. Those were my vices. And so because I had those vices, I wasn't able to stay focused and locked in on what I wanted to do or what I could have done in the next phase of my life after high school. And so 1 year out of high school, I tried college I enrolled into college for a semester in terms of, me actually doing something productive while in that semester. Not at all. And so I failed out of college. I knew that I was going to either end up dead or in jail because I was still a knucklehead, right? I was still out partying, drinking, driving. I called myself trying to sell crack cocaine for one night until I had a guy get in my car. And I was scared as hell. It's like 3 a.m. He's bigger than I am. I think I wore like 140 some pounds. And I was like, no gun, no knife. If this dude grabs me right now, yeah, he's going to beat me down, take all my little dope, all my little money, and I'd probably be in the hospital somewhere. So right then and there, I knew that I needed to do something different. And so the greatest decision that I ever made, October 1999, I left and joined the United States Air Force. I wouldn't be the man that I am today without my experience in the Air Force. I have traveled to some countries, lived in some countries, experienced some cultures that I never even would imagine growing up. I mean, I've played with some toys that most people can only imagine playing with, but I've loved it, man. The education, the training, the experience, all the things that my stepfather made me do as a teenager allowed me to excel once I joined the military because I had already rewired, my brain to be disciplined, to be structured, to be teamwork, to be vision and goal and mission oriented. And so my career was a rocky career in the very beginning. And again, because I still had some habits and some ways of thinking that I needed to overcome because the military, it's important that you strip yourself from all of those old civilian habits and civilian behaviors if you want to thrive while in the military. So my first couple of years was a little rocky, but then once I finally, tapped into the system, right, the learning, the training, becoming a military member, my career started to take off. I had my challenges and my setbacks. Because I, wasn't focused in the beginning, I failed some tests. I didn't get some promotions, or I didn't get some opportunities that I could have gotten because I lacked, certain disciplines and certain habits. But once I tapped into it, promotions started to come, fairly quickly. I made it to E7 in 13 years, where the Air Force's average is 16 years. But unfortunately, in September of 2014, I was let go. I mean, that's because of the drawdown from the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. A couple 100,000 of us had to find our next opportunity, and I was one of those people. But I was devastated because I wanted to do 30 years. My mentors, my friends, everyone was telling me that if you stay on this path, you're going to go to the top and you're going to be a chief. But at the time, I was a full-time single father. I had a mortgage, car payments, all the responsibilities that we have. And my life was completely destroyed. I went into major depression, struggled with some PTSD symptoms. I just spiraled out of control, man. I went, again, back to some old habits. I started drinking heavily, started smoking weed, super heavy. And I just, at some point, you have to say to yourself, enough is enough. And so when I came out of the military, like I had always had a hustle, like always, whether I was a kid, I've washed cars, cut grass, I've done some painting and kind of maintenance work. While in the military, I started a lawn care business. I also had a food trailer and did some network marketing. So when I came out of the military, jumping over into entrepreneurship, like it wasn't a new thing to me. It was just, here's what I'm going to do. I'm never going to give anybody a chance to have that much control over my life again, to be able to fire me and tell me that I can't get paid again. I didn't like that idea. And so I created my own mission, vision, and values. And so the last 10 years, I've just been working to, live, my mission, vision, and values. And we've had some ups and some downs. We've launched some products that sucked and crashed, but we've also launched some products that got some solid results for us. But most importantly, we've been able to change some lives, man. And that's really what it's all about for me, is helping people, identify what their goals and targets are, figure out what's keeping them from getting there, and then help them create a plan so they can get from where they are to where they want to be. So that's kind of where I am right now. Got a ministry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I needed to step in here because first and foremost, thank you so very much for your service. It's a lot to take in, man. Like you are like really just letting it all out. And this is, it's amazing to see, like, you've had your struggles long before you even entered entrepreneurship. Cultivating that type of mindset as you were growing up, like it's almost as if like you were pre-programmed to be successful in this space. And that to me is just like absolutely mind-blowing. your time in the military, and then having your stepfather like kind of like mold that frame of military lifestyle into you before you make it into the military, then having all of that combined into your entrepreneurial life, it's amazing. Like, how long have you been in the entrepreneurial space, just like after everything?
Gotcha. So let me start with you're welcome in terms of thanking me for my service, but I will say I'm still serving, man, just in a different uniform. Nothing's changed in terms of me wanting to serve people. All right. So 10 years. I got out September of 2014, and I've been full-time, business owner, entrepreneurship ever since. The thing
Awesome.
about it is we are all conditioned the moment the little fish leaves daddy and hits that egg, the conditioning of who we are, it begins, right? And so everything that mom listened to, everything mom ate, everything mom watched, it began the program and the conditioning of who you are. And so I wasn't always the person that I am. Like you said, a lot of what my stepfather gave me that helped me become. There are a lot of things I resisted in my early years, and I told you I was still a knucklehead. But once I learned that we have the power to program our minds, to recondition our minds, to create a program of success, thinking and habits and behaviors, I just went all in. Like I've got a personal development routine where every single morning there's meditation, there's self-reflection time. There's always going to be me reading, some form of book, even if it's just 30 minutes. I do listen, to podcasts, YouTube videos. Like everything in my life is structured with that. Like I don't even watch movies unless they're like action-oriented movies. And the reason why I do that is because I want to program my mind for winning, right? I want to program my mind for success. And so when I watch action-oriented movies, there's always going to be a hero, and there's always going to be a villain. But we always know that the hero always wins. And so if you always focus on how can I be a winner? How can I be the hero in every scenario that I go through in life? You'll always have the mentality of, yep, that might be a mountain, but we're going to conquer, we're going to climb that mountain. Yep, that might be an enemy over here that's trying to keep us from achieving our goal. But like you guys are doing, we're going to come together as a team, and we're going to go out here on this mission, and we're going to conquer this. And so I always like to make sure people understand that you have the power to create a winner's mentality. You have the power to create the champion and cultivate the champion that's within you.
That is what's up.
Carson, I think when me, Carson, and Bob got together and we decided to, do something, we were candid with each other enough to create some kind of space of being vulnerable to each other. So we had to be open with each other. Now, we've never really met. We've met online. Bob and Carson met, face to face, but we all grew up online knowing each other in that kind of space. The way we linked up together was, we seen each other in the space, which you talked about, we try to come together. And this was like a moment in the making, because the way we came together was deciding we had a talk. And, that's being vulnerable and open to start with. We had a talk, we decided to do something, and then one thing led to another, and then we all agreed on something, and this is where we are now. So I'm gonna hand it to Carson and let him ask you a couple of questions, because I know he's got some burning questions he wants to ask you over there, because I see it. He has this light bulb sense that we've gotten to know. So it's like a spidey sense sort of feel. So Carson, I'm gonna let you take it away and ask the burning questions that you have on your mind right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Jay, just want to you're making me tear up a little bit. I told the audience we would have tears, and it's just, I thought I've known you my whole life, and just the fact that you can be just this open and honest with complete strangers, to us and to the audience, just really speaks volumes. And I know a lot of times, like men especially, like if they show vulnerability, that's weak. We're weak if we show any sort of tears or emotions or whatever. It's supposed to be strong. It's supposed to be all this just the macho-ness. And if we cry, we're weak. We're lesser. I can really see that you make a difference and impact in so many people's lives. And I just want to just say thank you for all that you do, service, and just for being you, because we need more people like you in this world, a light. And I just want to say thank you and tip my hat off to you on that one. And so, gosh, put me on the spot, Lamonka, thanks. But really, Jay, and like I kind of want to piggyback off what Bob said about like how you were already almost predestined to become an entrepreneur, have this success. It's just a matter of you walking into your calling, into your purpose in life. Because I think so many times we have ideas like, well, maybe one day, or I want that life. But I think in reality, people don't realize that they already have that life. They just have to walk into that. They have to claim and be like, yep, that's me. I just have to dot some I's and cross some T's. And so my question to you, Jay, is why become? I know you said that you got fired from the military and everything like that. And so why did you decide to continue to be an entrepreneur, to pursue that, when you could have just you could have done any other thing? So like why specifically did you continue to be an entrepreneur even though the odds might have been against you?
Freedom, just pure freedom. Like, let me take a step back. First of all, thank you. Like, I probably should have wore a cap, right? I missed it. I missed.
You know what? Wait, stop. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there. That was one of the requirements. So, next time you're gonna be a repeat guest. So next time we're gonna require you to wear that hat, or I'm not letting you in.
It was about freedom, and so, like I said, I didn't want anybody to ever have that much power. Like, the military told me what to wear, where to live, what time to get to work, when I could leave work, who I could and could not hang out with, what I could or could not put into my body. Like, they controlled everything. And I tell people, to be honest with you guys, like, I'm shocked that I even made it 15 years in the military, because I have a rebel spirit. And there were a lot of moments during my military experience where I had to literally like tame myself or come up with different ways to either get myself out of certain things, because I just didn't want to do it. Like, I've always had a rebel spirit, a free spirit, where I want to live life on my terms. And entrepreneurship, for me, is the only thing that gives you the ability to be able to live life free and be on your terms. Excuse me. I'm not sitting here saying that I have never had late nights and early mornings, because I've had my fair share of late nights, early mornings, YouTube videos, reading the Google articles, trying to figure it all out. Like, I've done all of that. But once you have, systems and processes, and you're able to get a little team to support you, it just gives you freedom. Right. And so that's the biggest reason why I stuck with it. That's the reason why, like I tell people now, I'll never work for anyone ever again. One, because I don't want to lose my freedom. But two, I never want to go and work for someone who's probably less competent than I am. And I know it's going to create a conflict and a clash. And I don't want to ever, dread, oh my God, I don't want to take this drive to work. Oh my God, I don't like the people that I'm working with. Oh my God, when is the bell going to ring so I can get the hell up out of here and make it home? Oh my God, I live for Friday. Like, I never want to live that way. And so that's why I'm so passionate about, being an entrepreneur and business owner myself. But most importantly, that's why I'm super passionate about helping others, and growing their business, their brand, their impact and authority, because I want everybody, whatever your freedom is, like, everybody gets to define success and freedom based on your terms. And I think a lot of times we've been conditioned to believe that success means the private jet, the yacht, all the vacations. I'm at a different space in my life. Do we travel well? Yes. Do we do the things that we want to do? Of course. But the most important things for me right now is, like, I'm taking care of aging family members and they're healthy. I got a grandbaby. My first granddaughter is expected to be here in April. For me, that's wealth. Like, I'm happy, my family is happy, everybody's healthy. So that's why I do what I do, man, so that we can all, redefine what success, wealth, and prosperity really is, and then live that based on our definition. Like, Carson, you brought up the fact that, the de-emasculation of men, right? Like, if we show vulnerability, if we cry, if we become transparent, we're somehow weak. But in reality, for me, that's a sign of strength, because you're saying, hey man, I'm struggling right now. Like I need some damn help right now. And who around me has enough empathy to be able to say, I see you, I see your pain. Let's acknowledge that you're in this pain, but then let's work on what we need to work on to help you get out of this pain so that you can thrive and live as the best version of yourself.
So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. Oh,
and that's bringing me to my next question of, overcoming fear. What advice do you have for like the entrepreneurs that's coming out today that can help them as far as being vulnerable? What can they do to, build strong relationship, with either clients or partners? If you can, elaborate on that just a little bit.
Yeah, so first and foremost, fear is real. I mean, I've had experiences myself where I looked at a goal or I looked at a project or a collaboration or even a client, and that self-sabotaging little thoughts and doubts start to creep in. And I would have to literally say to myself, sometimes in the mirror, literally talking to myself, hey,
Yeah.
it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay that you have some uneasiness right now. That means you're uncomfortable. That means you're stretching. That means you're growing. However, you have to walk into this. And once you walk into whatever that scenario is, you begin to realize that all the anxiety, all the fear, all the nervousness was just the story that you were telling yourself. And a lot of times, those stories I've discovered is those stories come from something that a family member, maybe a parent, aunt, or uncle, or a friend or a sibling said to you oftentimes when you were a kid. Like, I remember when I was young, like I told you, I've always been the black sheep, the weird one. And I remember when my uncle, he actually called me crazy once. And I was about 14, 15 years of age. So at that time, I internalized it and it hurt me, right? Because my uncle at the time was like one of my heroes. And so when he said it, I was like, whoa, that sucks to have somebody that you look up to, say that type of thing to you. Now, at the time, I didn't realize how impactful that was. But now, having done my own work, shadow work on myself, I look back and I think about all the times in my life where someone said, you can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not tall enough, not fast enough. You're not cute enough, handsome, all the shenanigans that people say. And sometimes they're well meaning, they have good intentions, but they don't realize how those little statements and comments put shackles around our ankles or around the mental ankles that we have. And they keep us from taking the leap. They keep us from running full steam ahead towards our goals. And that's what a lot of times creates those limiting beliefs and hold us back. And so that's why I'm so passionate about helping people identify what that fear is, what that limiting belief is, what that self-sabotaging behavior is, so that we can break those chains and actually go out and live and walk into our calling. Like Carson said earlier, like, you got to live this thing. If you really want to become who you want to become, it starts with you living it. Before you have the money, before you have tons of clients, before you have tons of opportunities, you just have to live it. And then you become whoever you imagine yourself becoming as you're living it.
Yeah, and Jay, that's
fantastic.
a great point that you bring up. And I just really kind of want to piggyback off what Lamont said. And then you asked this question, might be a simple question, and just kind of reemphasize it. Do you think a lack of vulnerability blocks someone's definition of success?
Absolutely, because we're worried about what people are going to think and what people are going to say, right? And so I remember I went to a conference. It was probably 9 years ago, and there was a young lady named Patrice Washington. She teaches you how to become wealthy. And one of the things that she said is, you'll never become wealthy as long as you care about what people say or what people might think. And so that vulnerability, or our inability to be vulnerable, that's what prevents us from, showing up as our greatest version. That prevents us from taking the actions that we need to take in order for us to achieve the goals or have the relationships that we ultimately want. So we have to understand that being vulnerable and being transparent, that truly is the gateway to magnetic marketing. And so I'll step into the marketing piece of it really quick. when you're vulnerable and transparent and you're sharing your true story, when you're sharing your life, when you're sharing your fears, your failures, that's what makes you authentic. I think Lamont talked about it when you guys were had me in the back room by myself all alone. That's when you do those things. That's what allows you to really connect and build a bond with your target audience. So, for example, when you share your values, your audience, your tribe, your people will raise their hand and say, I value the same thing. When you share your beliefs, they'll do the same thing. Like I think, Carson, you said, man, hey, it feels like I've known you forever. All I've done is just share my story, right? And so, and don't get it twisted. Notice, I've shared my mess, I've shared my good, I've shared everything, every part of me, because I want your audience to be able to say, like, hey, if that dude can go through all of that and still have smiles, still have energy, damn it, I'm going to listen to what he has to say because he's obviously figured something out. And so I want to, like I said, I want to free people and release people from those mental shackles.
You know, going back to what you were saying earlier, it's like when I remember the moment that I felt today, years old, when it dawned on me, people talk about you when you're not there. And it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks on the chest. Like, how can this be? Like, I know that I'm a genuine person and I'm good and I treat people right and I have a good soul. But whether it's good or bad, people talk about you when you're not there. When you're able to come, like you said, Jay, when you're able to come to the understanding that happens and you don't give a fuck, that's when the true freedom begins. Like, that is exactly when you're able to break away and be like, you know what? There are going to be other people like me, but there is no one that is me. And you get that, you find that, you centralize yourself with that, and you're on the roll. You move on. You know, I wanted to ask you, like, what point in your timeline was it that you were like, I don't care. I'm just going to, like, put it all out there. When was that moment for you?
I'd probably say, since being out of let me kind of give some context. While in the military, I was an absolute don't give a damn what you say about me kind of guy. Like, I have always been. At that time, though, it was more of an ego thing. It was more of a self-defense, ego, pride perspective in which I was operating in while I was in the military. My being separated from the military was a very humbling experience for me. And it forced me to go back and really reevaluate and get to know thyself, if that makes any sense. As over the years, it took me about 5 years before I believe I fully healed from that entire, separation from the military experience. So I would say about 2019 is when I finally got to it, maybe going into 2020, where I finally got to a place to where I said, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn if you like me. I don't give a damn if you love me. I'm going to be me. And because in being me, as you said, that's what freed me to be the best version of me. Like you said, people are going to talk about you whether you show up or whether you don't show up. That's just people. That's humans. That's, you've probably heard it before where it says small minds discuss people, average minds discuss things, great minds discuss ideas. And so whenever people start like talking about me, and this is probably the perfect example to give, which was our most recent presidential election, right? So I started to share my views and perspectives more so from the standpoint of, I used to be an anti-political guy. I was 100%. I don't play the politics game. It's garbage. It's trash. I don't play that game, right? But what pissed me off is, one, more so how they transitioned Kamala Harris in. I think they did Joe Biden wrong. That's just my view and perspective on it. They did Joe Biden wrong, but I understand why they did it. And so when I started to share my dislike from a leadership standpoint, I was basically saying, you have to acknowledge that there was a terrible plan in place. because they knew that Joe
terrible.
Biden was declining from the very beginning. But they allowed him to go. And then when they replaced him, you could tell that there wasn't a solid plan in place for them to transition him out and transition her in. And so I was just talking trash about that process. I was just literally talking trash. And then when Magic Johnson said his part about why, black men should vote for her, and then Barack Obama came on and said why he thinks black men should vote for her, and we're misogynists if we don't vote for her, I was like, you know what? I was on my deck working on something. I was on TikTok. I saw that video of Obama. I stepped off my deck, recorded a quick video, and posted it on TikTok. And the next thing I know, it went viral. And I had people reaching out to me, wanting me on Fox News, people saying, hey, man, I'm happy you shared that. It became something. And so, again, I was just sharing my thoughts. But people, man, I've been called misogynist. I've been called cracker. I've been called white supremacist. I've been called Uncle Tom. You name it, I've been called it. And that's all in the last probably month. Right. And I've had people who I grew up with. I've had long-term friends. I've had family members unfriend me, not answer my text messages, not answer my phone calls. I've had to publicly say to people, I don't give a damn if you like me or you don't like me. Like my wife, she sleeps with me and she loves me, right? You're not putting any money in my pocket. You're not putting food on my table. So to hell with you if you like me or not, or how I show up.
Go ahead, Carson.
Yeah, dude. Shit. I mean, like, end it right there. You know what I mean? Curtain closed. But
you know what? I was about to say the same thing, but I said, you know what?
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that he just experienced, I've been going through that for months, years. We talked a little bit about, how that can actually get to you, but you have to build up that tough skin, so to speak.
Immunity.
Yeah. Because if you don't, it's going to take you down, and it's not for the faint of heart for a lot of people that's in the entrepreneurial space or the business space aspects of it, because if you can't take what others are going to be dishing out to you, it's going to be a long it's not going to be long. It's going to be a short road for you.
Yeah.
So Carson, go ahead. I'm going to let you round it out.
Before we brought you in, Jay, I was kind of like segueing them, our audience, and saying, if you can't tell your story, how can someone, a complete stranger, tell you their story? And so by you telling us and our audience your story, I really believe that it has given people hope. People that didn't have that sort of, not necessarily entitlement, but source of just insight, impact, and bringing in vulnerability and really just being upfront and honest, being authentic, being raw. And so my question to you in closing, Jay, is how can a person not feel comfortable telling their own story to someone and them getting in their own way? Why are they staying in their mind? Why can people not feel comfortable telling their own story to someone they don't know?
Yeah. So from my experience, I've discovered, man, it's wrapped up in guilt and shame, right? We either feel guilty because of what we either said or did in a particular scenario that created our story, or we feel shame behind what we did or said that created our story. And in telling that story, because we feel guilty or because we feel shame, we hold back from telling all the details and giving the context of the story because we're worried about being judged. But at the end of the day, there's a poem by Marianne Williamson, and I'm drawing a blank on the full title. You guys can go check it out. But she talks about in this particular poem about how telling your story illuminates your light, and it gives others permission to share their story, which also illuminates their light. And so we basically create this ripple effect of people who become more comfortable with being vulnerable, with being transparent, with sharing their story. Like when you share your story, I said it to you earlier, you're naked. Like there's no mask, there's no robe, there's no underwear, there's no nothing.
That's
If you
what
got
we
a if
call
you got
bucket naked.
yeah, bucket naked. Like if you got a mole right here that looks like a nipple, everybody's gonna see it because you're just naked. And so that's how you have to live. Like you have to think about it, guys. This journey called life, it's a one-way trip. Like there is no way to go back. There is no reset button like you're playing a video game. Like there's no slip-ems. I don't know if you guys ever played marbles or not, but like you don't get to, oh, I slipped. Let me shoot the marble again. No,
Won't
this
happen.
is it. You get one ride. And so be vulnerable. You came in this world naked, you're gonna leave this world naked. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So be free, be naked, be vulnerable, be transparent. And anybody that doesn't like it, I mean, smack one cheek. And if they don't like it, turn around and smack that cheek too, man. Just be naked.
That's it. Hey, so while we still have you on here for the next a little bit, what's the current thing you're working on? Like what are you promoting right now? What's happening in your world right now?
Gotcha. So Disruptive Leaders Alliance, right? So that's a community that we're launching and that we're building. The big project, I guess the big component of that project is incorporating my newsletter that's on the LinkedIn side of things with the brand that I'm building on Facebook and on TikTok. And so bringing all of those pieces together is like my biggest focus right now. So we just hired a video editor and a content specialist to make sure, content is going out organically on a consistent basis. We're getting ready to relaunch our ad campaign in terms of retargeting ads so that we can stay top of mind. But the Disruptive Leaders Alliance is the biggest thing that I'm focusing on right now because I realize that we have a lot of leaders, both men and women. We have a lot of leaders who aren't showing up as the leaders that we need them to show up as. And a lot of times it's about a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today, right? Leaders not being transparent, leaders not being vulnerable, leaders not having the courage to identify the fear and walk into their God-given authority so that they can make more impact, make more income. Of course, take care of your family, get out of debt, do your dream vacations like Bob, Bob, when I come to Miami, I'm coming down and we're going fishing whenever I come to Miami, right?
What about
It's
Jacksonville?
that kind of stuff.
A couple
What
IPAs too.
Hold on, did somebody just say IPAs?
Yeah, I watch your stuff, man. Come on.
Okay.
IPAs.
Absolutely. That's my favorite.
I feel, you touched on a point when you said you was like the black sheep of the family, in this group here, that would be me. Because everybody's in Florida. I'm over here in Germany. And then when I ask people to come visit me in Germany, everybody be like, yeah, bro, I know. If you ever, feel free to travel abroad, I'm in Germany. So, you'll be well received. Not a problem at all.
So Lamont, you missed earlier that I was told you're not a part of the Cool Kids Club because you don't live in all right, so you missed that part earlier. But no, man, go ahead.
I mean, I'm part of the cool kid because, I was able to separate from the cool kids and find some more cooler kids.
Gotcha.
It just so happened that it may look like I'm alone over here, which I am, but I won't tell nobody about that. Like I always say in our shows, I'm gonna edit this out. But it's cool, and I appreciate you coming on, being candid with us, and letting us know more about you and what you're about. Where can they follow you at? Right now, if you had to send some audience members your way, where can they follow you at so I can put it up on the screen?
Yeah, the biggest LinkedIn and Facebook, just Jay Jackson, literally just Jay, last name Jackson, common spelling. You can find, I'm on all the different platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Thread, TikTok. It's just Jay Jackson, but I spend most of my time on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay. That's awesome. And like I said, I want to thank you for coming out, just being with us and, having I don't know if you drink coffee because first of all, you came with no hat, no coffee. I don't know what's going on here, but we need to set those.
I drink tea.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we have that rhetoric up for the next time. But we appreciate you, like we said, and well done with what you got going on, and we're always going to be following you to see more improvements that you have that actually is going to trickle down to us, and it's going to trickle down to our audience. So you were well sought after, and, you know, I did my research, but, you know, we only have an hour show. You know, nobody's going to watch a podcast for 35 minutes, you know, but
Right.
with that little bit of time that you gave us, it's actually helpful to some of us that's going to see us out here. So I appreciate you, and thank you for your time.
No, man. Thanks for having me. I'm super grateful to be on. I'll love to come back anytime. It's a great conversation. And I just hope that something that I said would impact somebody to change their life, because that's what it's all about. We're on a mission to transform 10 billion, yes, billion with a B, lives. I know there aren't 10 billion people on this planet right now. So this is something that's going to have to be sustained after I die. And so this is about legacy for me. I tell my wife all the time, I never want to die. And so the best way to do that is to change other people's lives, impact other people's lives so that their lives can be better as a result of yours.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Thank you again, Jay. We really appreciate
Thanks,
you.
man. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Bring a hat next
Take
time,
care.
Jay.
I got a hat next time for sure. I got a hat.
Hey,
next
you
time.
know what?
We
You know
will not
what?
let you in. We're gonna bring a hat in. That's the rules.
No hat, no view.
That's the rule. What's the rule?
Yeah, basically you have to bring a hat. I mean, it's called caps and conversation.
Yeah. For sure. Drop the ball. I take full responsibility for not having.
All right.
That's on me.
Okay, so you take care, man, and enjoy the rest of your day. We're going to put you backstage for a little bit. You can stick around with us if you want to, but if you're pressed for time, then, you know, we understand.
Yeah, if it's just a couple minutes, let me know. I told the wife I'll be till 11, so I got until 11.
Okay, just a couple minutes. We'd be right with you.
All right.
So this episode is pretty much golden because, you know, you got to have vulnerability and some kind of structure in your business. Now, if you can't be vulnerable, if you can't be, you know, accessible to others, then what are we doing here? You know, we talked a lot about fear. We talked a lot about, you know, being open. We talked a lot about, you know, trying to, you know, you have to have thick skin, so to speak. And that comes with a lot of vulnerability, because once you're open, you're going to have a lot of things thrown in your way, in a way that you might not like, but you have to be strong enough to, you know, shake it off and withstand that pressure. So,
Yeah, I
Bob,
gotta
I'm gonna let
say,
you go ahead,
having Jay on was like really, it was a breath of fresh air. Because it's crazy, and it's not like it's a secret or anything. You know, everybody has their struggle. Everybody is going through something, and what we want everybody to know is that it may not be the best time to do what you want to do as far as starting off a business or starting off several businesses. The time is now. It doesn't matter. You know, you've got your stuff. Everybody's got their stuff. How you deal with it,
Right.
how you move forward, that's what's going to determine the success of your business and the rest of your life. Having Jay on was fantastic. Like seeing
agree.
and listening to like his upbringing and then being like beaten down by the military, and it's like this is his upbringing set him up for this. Like he is definitely on the path to success, if not there already. You know, I hope that there was some really great takeaways. I feel that there was great takeaways from all of this. For everybody that's out there listening, you know, Jay Jackson's there. You know, if you want to drop him a DM on Facebook or whatever and stuff, you know, feel free to. We're also here. Myself, Bob G, Carson Steffens, Lamont Braithwaite. We're all here for you.
Yeah, guys, and I mean, Jay's a living testimony of what it means to be challenged in life. To be like, okay, so you either can choose to continue that path or do better, to make life better, to make your future better. Because I mean, anybody can create an excuse to say why they're not doing something right now in the moment, or I'll put it off a month, 2 months. I mean, like, just imagine, guys, if Jay kept trying to sell crack cocaine, you know, like, do you think he would have had the motivation, the desire to become the success he is today? So, I mean, you're never beaten down enough to the point where you cannot make good of it. Just because you're low doesn't mean you can't go high. And it takes baby steps, progress over perfection. Jay had a dream. He wanted to do better by his family. He wanted to leave a legacy, and he couldn't do that with what he was currently doing. So you have to look in the mirror, guys, and you have to think, is what I'm currently doing going to allow me to accomplish or to feel accomplished or to be successful in my eyes? Because like Jay said, success is different in everyone else's eyes. So you have to really sit down, write it down. We said this in our episode on Wednesday. Write it down. What success looks like to you currently, and what you want it to look like. Because if you just want to make excuses, you will never be successful. I don't care what your definition is.
Exactly. Now, we're going to end this segment today, but before I go, I want to let you know that we also are doing podcasts on every Wednesday and every Saturday. And stick around. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. And, you know, if you ever want to be a guest, make sure you just come into the group, request that you want to be a guest, because our calendar is pretty full, but we still want you, you know? So as a token of my appreciation, keep your caps on, grab your coffee, and come on down and have a talk with us. We got a lot to talk about. That's our spiel for this week. And y'all have a good day, a nice evening, a greater weekend, or next weekend, or, you know, I'm just rambling here, but, you know, bye.